Okay, I finally got this thing working, I think. Hi, Ronnie Figaro here. Um, I am going to be speaking about uh, fear. I'll use an anonymous word, anxiety. I'll be putting those together for the most part. So, what I hope is that most people will try to understand this more so with their hearts than with their intellectual abilities. And I'm just using those kinds of words because I think too much we rely too much on our intellect and trying to figure everything out. Now, I lean more towards the holistic way of looking at life, holistic in the sense of believing that there's a connection between mind, body, soul. We've heard these kind of things before. And yet, what I see is that there's just too much lacking in our world, even today. And I think people are making too many excuses for that lacking, for the terrible things that are going on our planet. Are there wonderful things too? Yeah, and I'm always going to throw a little bit of that in there. But I think we need to learn more so how to accept and see and be aware of not just the good things in life, but the bad things and the ugly things that are going on with a balance. And one of the things that I believe very strongly that I'm able to help myself and other people with is truly learning how to accept, balance, live a life where it starts to really make sense, basically. I've said this before in a couple of my other YouTube videos, and I guess thank God for YouTube. I hope somebody gets something out of it. I presented the whole idea of how I believe very strongly that well, first of all, there is a universal connection. A lot of people believe that. But I also present the fact, I'm calling it a fact, that all of the religions, philosophies, even to the New Age kinds of concepts that many of us are believing in more and more these days. I guess I lean more towards that direction than any other kind of religion, and I am calling this New Age kind of movement a religion. Now, one of the things I'll say about it also, with all the good that's going on the planet, and that's what I was getting to before, there's also the bad, and we need to get that into balance. In westernized societies, we're really reluctant to accepting the death part, the suffering parts, and looking at life as a reality. We're too conditioned and programmed into just getting by, or looking at everything as being okay, looking at everything as being positive, or just being plain dulled out to whatever is really going on this planet. And whose fault is it? If there's something to blame, yeah, we got to blame ourselves. And there are those that have more power or control that are more responsible. And there's responsibility in different ways. There's a responsibility of the governments, those who are in charge, but there's also the responsibility, and this is what I'm going to hone on most of it, for the people who consider themselves to be spiritual leaders, helping people, self-help leaders, all these people that are out there who claim to do this and claim to do that. And bottom line, as I've kind of said before, if all of that was true, then you would think by now, with all of the thousands and thousands of books and seminars and workshops, and everybody's speaking about the enlightened gurus and all of these changes that are happening, that this world should be in even better shape. And it isn't. Are there good things going on? Is it better than it has in the past? Yeah. So what? Let's sit on our laurels? No. We've got to break through. I believe there's supposed to be a shift, an evolution in us, an evolution in our thinking and our minds, and maybe even physically. Why would physical evolution have to stop? You know, I think there's going to be a connection. Again, this is my belief. This is my dogma. We all have a dogma or religion. And I believe that there's a connection that's going to occur more and more as we truly break free of the conditioned norms and the conditioned ways that we have been living, or accept things as they are. and truly learn how to um, find that truth within us that goes beyond and outside of what all of the philosophies, religions, movements are telling us in the alternative way what we should be doing or what we need to do. And one of the things that is the real subtle culprit, especially within the, again, New Age movement, is how they will promote that they're not doing that. They're not telling anybody to do what they shouldn't be doing. But in essence, they are. And I believe it's the most subtle, most destructive religion there is right now, because it keeps people in this pacified state of saying, yes, we need to do more, yet not really breaking through to show people what we really need to do in order to break through. There's usually the same seminars, the same lectures, the same presentations of themselves and their ideas. I'm doing the same thing. I'm just thinking mine's a little bit better, a little bit different, and a little bit better. And I hope it's going to help people to break through to another level. Am I better than anybody? No, no, no. But what I found researching a lot of stuff, being involved with a lot of stuff, from cults to being one of the cult leaders in a group to you name it, as far as alternative kinds of seminars and groups. I've got a master's degree in psychology. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, a clinical hypnotherapist, etc. So I got all those things. But one of the things that I found is that there is a thread of truth through most of this stuff. Yet, there are too many people who are promoting themselves and their stuff as being all there is. And they present themselves that way. Me, I say, yeah, I think mine's better, but I could be wrong. And I'm willing to say that. That's why we have to find that voice for ourselves and not rely so much on what other people are telling us. How many books have you gotten recently? How many more seminars do you need to go to? And one of the interesting parts of it is that there is so much healing going on right now. People are being healing of diseases maybe that they would not have had they not gotten involved with certain kinds of self-help groups or spiritual groups. Yet, even with that, it's just not enough. It's almost like saying, okay, well, this minority of people were healed spontaneously. And that's great. But you can't just stop there. And then we start to look at these people. Yeah, they're doing such great work. And they present themselves as though they have no real problems. Check that one out when you are sitting with these people. They don't really tell you that they're suffering still. They don't really tell you that what's going on. Maybe they do have arguments still with people who are close to them. Maybe they have disagreements. You can see it sometimes in people's the guru's body languages. You'll see how they tensen up, or there'll be like an angry scowl on their faces, and we still just pacify it all. We still make excuses for it all, even when these people are demonstrating how much in error they are. But okay, that's the part that I usually like to throw out in the beginning, and I think I've taken about 10 minutes of time doing that. So I'm going to leave that for now. You can call me or contact me to get more information, or just to banter back and forth. But I won't argue or debate too much. I don't do that. But if you have some specific questions, I'm more than willing to try to answer them. You can reach me. My phone number is 949-205-8357. I have another phone number that's 845-706-6169. Because I live in different areas, so I have these two phones, and I use it that way. So, fear. What is fear? What is fear? Some people would say, oh, it's just that being afraid of something that's going to happen or something's about to happen, and this anxiety erupts inside of us, and it's kind of like it just makes us really want to run, want to hide, because oh, this is so scary, and that's a good way to look at fear. Another way to look at it, and especially that the initial thing that I was saying, we all need to have some degree of fear, but mostly it's just the immediacy of what is happening, not so much what could happen, but what is happening. That fight or flight response, that's more biological. That's okay. Where it becomes a problem, and it's with us as human beings, is that we're conditioned, raised to have too much of that fear. It becomes a part of what we are, it becomes a part of our psyche, it becomes a part of our being. And then that human part of us, as being human beings, holds on to it. It goes deep into us. Some would call it the unconsciousness that is stuck in us to some degree or another. Some would say that it just becomes mental conditioning, and then as soon as some thought comes into our minds, that it will elicit certain fears depending on who we are, how we've been raised, and all that sort of thing. And then there's probably some truth to all of that. My point is that no matter where it came from, it's no good. It ain't no good. It just ain't no good for us. And there are other things too that are out there. We're talking about anxiety. There's things like depression and all how they can be related and whatnot. But I'm going to stick with fear, anxiety. Why? Because of how we are conditioned. More so as we grow up. We are told that this is the way to be and that's the way to be, and we're not open. Many of you may have been hearing these kind of things and know that, okay, it's how do I change though? And how do I become a better person? How do I heal from these things? Fear. And this is how simple it is. And I'll go into various other things with words because we need to hear words for the human side of us to really kind of shift over. That's okay. Not that we have to have so many of the words. We have too many words. Here's how it goes. If you have a fear of any kind, all you have to do is become aware of it and bring it up. Bring it up or down, whatever is in a real direction. Whatever works for you. If you feel like, oh, I'm bringing it up, there it is. Or I'm going into it, there it is. There's no real direction. There's just tools that you use. This is one thing. And the more you do that, I like to use the bringing it up, so I'll do that. But what works for you best, that's what you need to really focus on, not what other people are telling you. There are principles that are universal that you can glean from, but don't take anybody's word for it being what you need to do. So, we're bringing it up, fear. We all have some. And let's just say there's just a little bit. Okay, I have a little anxiety. I have to talk to this person about a job. That's anticipation. That's anticipatory fear. Some people know what that is, right? And that's something that's going to be there. So let's just even start with that. Okay, I know this job was coming up, or this is happening, or these kind of bills are coming in, and that's causing fear and anxiety. It's coming up. So how you work with that is pretty much similar to how you work with any kind of it. A different construct in a way, but that's something that you're more concretely aware of. You bring it up. But I also believe that there are other parts of that are unconscious for just about everybody to some degree or another. But we're talking more about the conscious, recognized, anticipatory anxiety or fear. So you bring it up. You can breathe into it as a tool, and you want to become aware of it. Why? Because you want to be strengthened in that part of you that is more the aware part. Some would call it right brain thinking, or the right creative brain, left brain, call it whatever you want. But the idea is to have an experiential understanding of it, an experiential being with it. And then once you get that, and if you really start getting that, And just practice that over and over again. You will, I strongly believe this, you will begin to see what I would call acts of synchronicity slash miracles. And the more you live this in its essence, the more you will see parallel like acts of synchronicity slash miracles. But you've got to be able to confront it without the expectation that you're going to get some great results or the miracle is going to happen. You have to be able to live in the unknown of it. And the more you do it in this place, the more you see that it becomes more of a naturalistic thing to be here without necessarily knowing what the answer is going to be. And then you'll feel the fear differently. There it is. You breathe into it and you release it. If you want to reframe it with positive things, I will be okay during this interview, or I will be okay with this when I speak to this person or that person, or this, and I have to go to this event, whatever. You can do those things too, but those are secondary. And I'm going to throw even insignificant in comparison to learning to be here with it all. When I get stressed out, because I do, a little bit this week from things that are going on, I more naturalistically can come back here now, more so. Do I need to keep growing it? Yeah, we all do need to keep growing in these aspects and growing into it forever. There'll never be anyone who is, quote, enlightened. There'll always be some kind of conditioned fear, some kind of conditioned issues that we have in our lives. And I think that relates somewhat to the whole concept of a yin yang kind of thing, where we need that in order to grow, in order to shift and evolve. So that's it in a nutshell. That's the most important aspect, and even a technique or tool that you can use, because you're consciously bringing it up. Here it is. I'm bringing it into my awareness. Are you trying to separate it? No, you're just trying to be there with it. You're not trying to get rid of it. If you're there and you feel like comfortable and in a flow, you want to release, okay, or you want to do the positive affirmations or whatever other tool you have, but you have to. You don't have to. I'm sorry I said that, because when people say, you have to, Ronnie, I go, well, I don't have to do anything. The only thing I have to do is live and die. All these other things are a choice that we make. And if we make the better choices, then we'll heal much more readily, with much more substantial, permanent, really cool, real results. And then you'll still be who you are, because your personality is a part of this. Don't let people fool you with the concepts that, oh no, we are just being. And some of those Eastern concepts are cool. Some of them are so much wrong. And that's my belief. And I believe you can believe things are wrong. There's no right or wrong. Yes, there is. Killing innocent babies is wrong. Raping people is wrong. Butchering people, murdering people is wrong. Okay. So that's it. Now, are there different other techniques or tools? I'll just mention a few of them that I think are more effective, or aspects of them. Again, I wouldn't follow along any one thing. I think the process that I've developed has been pretty helpful for a lot of people who've gone to others and have and say to me, this is the best that I've ever had. And a key part of it, again, is for me as a therapist to be able to let people know that I'm a human being and a therapist, and develop that kind of a relationship where a person can feel comfortable speaking to me, letting them know that, hey, anything you say, I can't, say anything about it. And I'll kid around and say things like, well, as long as you're not going to kill me or anybody right now, or go, kill yourself after, or saying that you're going to kill yourself, you can tell me anything in that night, and I won't say anything, and I can't divulge your confidential information, because that's against the law. I could lose my license and other things. So, yeah, look at, or try to find, in a meditative sense, which is always good. And when I say meditative, all I mean is trying to relax your mind, relax your body as best you can in any given situation. Closing the eyes is good because you can get away from some of the distractions, and I'm doing it now as I speak about it. And then in a genuine way, with as much vulnerability and openness to realizing that there is stuff in you that needs to be healed. Go to that place. You can breathe into it, look for that thing, let it come up in its entirety. You do the aspect of questioning it if you want. That's not all that important, really. What's important is to dig down in there and look for it. You can do that with guidance, through guided imagery, through various kinds of therapies that are out there that help you, with questions like, what is this feeling? Do you feel this way for real? Why do you feel this way? What can you do to make it better? Blah, 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 all those kind of things. When they get too complicated, though, I'd say avoid them like plague, because things can be too complicated when they should be so much more simple. And I think better healing I've found for myself and for those I'm trying to help with the more simplistic way of working through these things is very, very simple. Simple principles. You bring up the fear, and what you're really doing is you're observing it. You're observing it in the sense of observing it with your personality, not trying to separate it if it hurts, but you're leaning toward that aspect of you that is more focused as to where and what your awareness is, what I would call being in the state of spacious awareness. It can be difficult to explain to some people, but once you start getting it, then it just feels better. It's easier to bring the fears up. It's easier to do other techniques to eliminate them, whether it's talk therapy or whether it's CBD, cognitive behavioral therapies. This has to be first and foremost, but those other things are important too. And then what you're doing, especially if you're looking at fear, it's important to be honest and real and vulnerable that you have it and that everybody has it, and to be honest with yourself as to how it's healing. Now, anxiety. So I can be anxious if I eat too much chocolate or sugar. I can start to feel the buzz, and your heart rate's going to start up more. And if you look at it, it might just be a physical thing. It might just be that. But whatever's causing you to not feel good, really good, at your best, so to speak, whatever that means, it's important, again, to just be aware of what that is. And a lot of times we're not going to know that right away until we go there and start digging stuff up and looking at it. And I think the important thing to realize for most of us, and all of us to some degree or another, is that we all have some kind of conditioned fear within us. So the more we start looking in there and digging it up and bringing it up, coming up with it or whatever, the more we begin to see the connections. Not that you need to go looking back in your past and your history, but something will come up and you go, oh yeah, I remember this. I've been like this for a while. It's still kind of there too much. And those of us who have a tendency maybe to dissociate too much from reality, to not be willing to look at it all, the good, the bad, and the ugly. There are some societies that accept death much better. They celebrate it in a way, along with life. We got to learn how to do that as best we can anyway. There are some people in our society who can do that. I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit. So yeah, there it is. Let's just say you're going in there. Okay, let's say something's coming up. And sometimes you're not going to feel much of anything. But whatever it is, you just allow it to be there. And you can put healing on it if you want, just doing it that way, or releasing it. You can say it's going out into the universe or whatever. Or you can make questions about, why am I thinking this way? What am I really thinking? Why do I think this about this person or this thing? And being really honest with yourself about especially your fears. Why am I afraid? Where are some of the examples of fear that come in when I'm speaking to someone? Yeah, usually that's where my fear is. So that's what you focus on. You can look for examples. We're all going to have them. So you find that example and you build up on top of it. Some people say, wait a minute, you're going to go look for negative stuff. Why do that? Why go searching for it? I'm not saying searching for it. I'm saying allow it to come up. Allow yourself to see it, to bring it to the fore. But it's secondary and insignificant as compared to being here. This will help it accelerate all of the techniques, et cetera, whatever you're dealing with. And don't be afraid to be afraid or to let people know that you have fear. To let a person know that is being genuine. What's wrong with that? Is being vulnerable. What's wrong with that? And taking risks. Is that fearful? Yeah, that's going to bring up more fear. But that's what you need to do. And that's in the communication phase of it. If you're doing it with a therapist, it can be easier. Learning to take step by steps to do it with other people is probably much more important in real life. Getting ideas through various kinds of helps of the better way to communicate with this one or that one, whether it's this therapy or whether it's just something from inside of you, you're starting to use a tool, but not relying so much on the tool, learning to do it more naturalistically, taking that risk. Could be a person, I have fear when I speak about speaking to my husband about this particular thing. That's when you need to really get inside yourself and say, okay, but I know it's necessary, or I believe it's necessary. I'm not sure, but I see the connection of how this kind of vulnerable opening up is good for me, even if the other doesn't receive it. If the other one goes, hey, what's wrong with you? Grow up. That's not going to help you in your fear because of being hurt in the past that way, maybe, or conditioned that you can't say this because if you do, this is what's going to happen. But most of the times, especially if you do it in the way that comes from this area of integrity of yourself, I need to do this, that you feel like this is important, honesty with vulnerability, and taking that risk in a genuine way. So an example could be something like that. Okay, my husband usually doesn't say anything, puts me down or whatever, and we get into these arguments. It's the same revolving cycle over and over again. One of the better ways to even practically communicate would be to let that person know how you are feeling. It always needs to come back to you. Is that selfish? Is that being selfish? No, it's taking care of the self. And you'll see how this grows and grows to where you become that much more of a full person and able to help other people even, and how your anxiety and fears can be eliminated over a shorter period of time. So, Mr. Husband, here I am. I'm saying this to him, let's just say. I feel that when I say something to you, you're not really listening. And he may just come back, well, what are you talking about? And he might say, well, I don't do that. I don't do that. I don't do that. The important thing to remember is that it's not so much about what they're responding, but how you're feeling about what they're responding. Bringing it back to you, to your heart area, or even just to your mind. If it's like, I just got whatever, however you can bring it back to I feel, I'm thinking this because of what you said, but it makes me feel this way. And that vulnerable part of letting them know how you really feel. I feel hurt. Usually what it is, like, what do you mean? I didn't say that. Yes, you did. No, you didn't. Why do you always do this to me? I'm just trying to tell you something, blah, 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 blah. And then you can respond to what that person is saying, no matter what it is. And again, that's important. I know it's going to be hard at times, especially in the beginning, to validate, wait a minute, you're saying that I'm nuts because I think this way or feel this way? Yeah, that's right. Well, I hear what you're saying, but that only makes me feel worse when you say that. Can you understand that? That makes me feel bad. Do you understand that? And the more you keep going in that direction, the person can only either keep accelerating and if they do accelerate, what you need to do is practice, okay, you've said what you said, you see that person isn't responding to it, then you just back off. person, but you don't want to get that person like saying something about, oh, you do this to me. Wait a minute, I don't do this. And then you go into this back and forth. And then that person hits you and abuses you. And it basically just fulfills what you already have been feeling. That's probably related somehow to some things that already have happened to you, or that is buried inside of you. That's how we confront fear on this more practical way. That's how we break through the fear. It becomes, now we're talking about real world um, um, circumstances and ways of doing things. If you want some more, I'm going to stop now because, gosh, it's been a half hour. I think that's too long for YouTube. But anyway, I'm going to stop now. And if you want some more information, if you have some questions, if you have some ideas that maybe I'm missing, no, I don't. I'd rather you just ask the questions, because when we get into this, like, people have to, it can go on for hour and hour. Well, this is what I think, this is what I think. And I don't want to do that anymore. But I am willing to answer questions. You can reach me on my email at Ron Figgy, RonFiggy at gmail.com. Or you can call me through the numbers that I gave before, 949-205-8357 or 845-706-6169. So I hope this is going to be helpful to someone's, and if so, let me know, because that's one of the things too that will happen as you're living this way. And I just want to throw this out. You can't just live in a vacuum saying, okay, I'm just doing all this stuff and I'm learning and I'm growing and there's nothing. There needs to be a development of peace, of more happiness, of more clarity, of more ability to handle situations, and those acts of synchronicity / miracles that give you more confidence and help you grow even more. So thank you, and let's break through this fear thing, okay? Bye. Oh yeah, I'm going to be 66 next month. Yay. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.